Good day, you absolute legends. In today's video, we are going to be asking ourselves the fundamental question. What is No Man's Sky going to look like in 2026 by this year's end? And we're going to the very first of the year of next month. What is the game going to look like? Where is the game going to be? And is No Man's Sky still going to be relevant in 2026? And those are questions that I'm going to hopefully be answering in today's video. But you know, as always, I'm going to do this video in one take, no editing, no funny stuff, so we can have this proper conversation with just you and me. So let me know again at the end of the video how it did today. So yeah, before we do get into today's video, as always, ladies and gentlemen, can I please just ask you just to double check for me that you are indeed still subscribed to the channel. If you need to resubscribe, please do resubscribe, or if you have been watching me for a while and you like what I do, then why not consider hitting that subscribe button? You definitely will not regret it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to get through today, so let's get right on into today's video. So, first of all, let's talk about the state of No Man's Sky currently. Now, currently, No Man's Sky is in a much better place than it was even last year and the year before. You know, we have Worlds Part 1, Worlds Part 2. There is so much expansion right now within the game, but there is still a lot of areas that need a lot of attention paying to, such as, you know, the main quest line. We haven't had an update for that in many, many years, and it is pretty much the exact same as it always has been. So there needs to be a revamp, I think, in the storyline and the way the direction of the game is going for that. We are still waiting for a lot of the lower stuff to still be brought into the game as well. But on top of that, multiplayer right now in No Man's Sky it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Now, I'm not trashing No Man's Sky, or should I say Hello Games here as such, but it is a common complaint that I see online a lot, that multiplayer isn't up to par. You know, people are trying to play with their friends, whether on PC, trying to play with PlayStation peeps or Xbox peeps, or even same system parties, so whether everyone's on Xbox or whether everyone's on PlayStation or so on, people disconnect. And sometimes, you know, they try and join their friends, especially if it's like a bigger party, so not even just like 2 people, but 3 and 4 people. And it is a mess, and people can't see each other. You know, people have problems loading in, or they get booted out and they can't join. A lot of attention needs to be paid to that. And I hope this year, in 2025, the multiplayer problem that has been plaguing No Man's Sky for as far back as I can remember will be fixed. I mean, that is no doubt extremely wishful thinking, but I hope that it is fixed. Now, going beyond that, what else needs to be brought into the game? Well, at the moment, the replayability part of No Man's Sky, again, is lacking in the advanced stages. So if you've been playing No Man's Sky for years and years and years, like I have, even I've felt it where I feel like I'm doing the exact same things repeatedly over and over and over again. There's nothing new. There's nothing intriguing enough to keep me in that gameplay loop, even though I play it every day because I love the game. But sometimes I feel like it is a bit of, I'm just like grinding myself to play it because I love it. But is it a love-hate relationship where at the end of the day it's kind of like, you know, what do you do? So in my mind, there is a few decent things I think No Man's Sky could get that will really help with the replayability cycle of the game. Now, I'm not saying it has to go on, you know, the same old, you know, time trials, and it works, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have to go down necessarily, you know, adding proper PvP combat into the game, you know, letting people own worlds and stations and factions, and, you know, people can go ahead and try and take over systems and so on. I mean, don't get me wrong, that would exponentially, you know, increase the replayability of the game of No Man's Sky, because it would actually give people a goal, a purpose, especially if you can actually conquer systems. You know, I can imagine massive factions all forming together and, you know, trying to like hold on to certain regions of space and so on. It would increase it, but it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to happen that way, and a lot of people in the No Man's Sky community don't want that either. A lot of people do, a lot of people don't. I'm on the side of the fence that I do like that. I like the idea of that, but it would have to be implemented carefully and properly. But one of the things that I think that just would expand just a little bit more on the replayability side of it, and rather going through the endless game loop of your rebirth, or should I say you get to the end of the quest line and things like that, and then you can choose a different system and so on. And I think that just by adding, like, for example, more multiplayer opportunities, that would be a much better idea. Now, a while ago, there was speculation, and it very well still come into the game because there is a lot of things and clues saying that it might still happen, is like racing coming into No Man's Sky, like actually having, like, almost like in GTA where you can actually have lobbies and you can just join games, but it's like, you can go and race, whether that be on exocraft or ships. I think that would be really, really cool, and have like predetermined courses that maybe Hello Games run, and you just join and go and have a race or something. Anything that I think that brings players together and have a little bit of a competition about it, I think is always a really, really good idea. There is so many different ways you can do this. Even, for example, something even smaller than that, even inside of the anomaly, you could have like little game stations. So, for example, you can play chess, you can play Scrabble, you can play battleships, Connect Four even. Let's just go down that rabbit hole. You could have like little game stations where random people can join, sit down, play a game, wait for someone to join them randomly in the anomaly, and just have a game. Just something different, something unique, something that hasn't been done before. And I think that would go a heck of a long way to really promoting the life back into the game. Now, obviously, I know we are on the eve of the next update, and the next update for No Man's Sky is touted to be a fairly decent sized one, especially if rumour and speculation is to be believed with AI coming into the game. But it's how that AI, if it does happen, will be interactive. So, we very well could get some of this already happening. And, the team at Hello Games, they know that the game is aging. They know that Light No Fire is around the corner. But I highly suspect, and that's something else I want to speak about, because I highly suspect that when Light No Fire does eventually arrive, Hello Games are going to want people to play both. They're not just going to want to, quietly put No Man's Sky to sleep for the rest of its time, and just praise up Light No Fire, because they're two, even though they are the same engine and the same sort of thing, they are two completely different games. One's on a planet and one's directly in space and so on. But I feel like they're going to want to run the games simultaneously. And even though No Man's Sky is an aging game, I still think development is still going to happen regardless for No Man's Sky. So how can they accomplish this? So again, just by adding a few little things with the AI, which is why I think the speculation conversation is also happening at the moment. It could really vastly improve a lot of features and a lot of things. Now, this video, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to go into a rant about AI and what could and couldn't happen. That was yesterday's video. But today's video is just slightly touching upon that subject. Now, with Light No Fire coming into the mix, and it is touted to be this year, some of the publications about it have already started coming out. Some websites as well have started to release like time frames, not so much a specific it's going to be released on this day, that time, and when. But there was a website, Captain Steve found it. It wasn't Captain Steve who found it, but it was Captain Steve who reported on it from one of his friends. I think it was Kurt or someone, who went ahead and discovered that one of these websites accidentally leaked that it was going to be released in 2025, which is very, very exciting stuff. Now, when Light No Fire comes out, again, everybody's going to be playing Light No Fire. I'm going to be playing Light No Fire. But where does that then leave No Man's Sky? Well, I think if the team can get the multiplayer sorted, that will definitely go a long way, especially with Light No Fire being apparently always online, always multiplayer. You'll be able to see everybody, and it's not just going to be like, one or two people here and there. Apparently, you're going to be able to see, hundreds of people allegedly. So we'll see how that works out. But if they have that technology for light nor fire, and the games technically are quite cross-compatible with assets and game engines and things like that, why can't they do that for No Man's Sky? Now, I'm not saying that No Man's Sky needs to have, hundreds and hundreds of people to be able to see everybody on one planet. I'm not going as far as that. It is a 10-year-old game, so maybe there are some limitations to what the team can do with what they have. So I understand that. However, something like a 30, 40, 50 player lobby is very much attainable, even with the age of the game. 10 years ago, you could still get that. So I think that Hello Games, if they really wanted to fix this once and for all, they really could. Whether they will or not, and whether that's the direction that they want to go down, is another story. But, with updates in general, I mean, No Man's Sky, like I said, has come a long way. Compared to what it was in 2016, it's a night and day difference. Yes, we don't have the super formula. Yes, right now we go to 50 planets, and once you've seen all 50, you've seen them all. Yes, the story is repetitive. But the team could make fundamental changes to everything that I've just said there. So in 2026, I think the game will be, obviously, with a few more updates between now and Christmas. I think that the game will change in a big way yet again. I think that we're going to get new ships. I think that we're going to get new cosmetics. I still think that we're going to get a good few bits of maybe even updated missions and quest lines and lore. It might not even be main story quest lines. It probably will be along the autophages, the construct, maybe even something to do with the space station core, and that's going on the space station core itself. A lot of people in the game really want, I say a lot of people in the game, a lot of people for the game want to be able to own their own space stations. That would be a very exciting, possibility. And again, I think something even just as small as that would be really good to longevity the longevity of No Man's Sky. It's such a difficult conversation to have, because how do you get across that you only want the best for a game and not overly critique it to come across in the wrong way? That's the hard part, because no matter what you say in this community, there is always going to be someone that takes offense to something that you say, and that's the one thing I've always found in this game, that it's hard to critique something that you love, but you must critique it because you love it so much. Now, if I was in charge of No Man's Sky development, and if I had free reign, these are the changes I would immediately make. First of all, I would get multiplayer fixed once and for all. I would set it at 30 plus player lobbies. I would even extend the opportunity for people to actually run their own servers, like we see in games like Minecraft, Rust, and other games. I would also let people run their own servers that could then have their own computing power that could outmatch or be a lot bigger than what Hello Games are willing to pay for services and servers. So then they could expand that to 100-player servers, 200-player servers, if so wished. I would really polish up the code. I really would. The next thing I would do is tackle bugs, issues, problems, anything and everything. I would get that sorted. I would also set up a proper quality assurance department, a Q&A, not Q&A department because they're not answering questions, but you know what I mean, like the quality department where they'll go in and actually test bugs, because right now I'm pretty sure it's just the devs doing it themselves, but I would actually set up an actual department to go out and find bugs that players don't have to do that. That's what I would do personally. The next thing I would do is look at feedback, look at every single person that has written anything anywhere on the internet, whether that be through comments, Zendesk, forums, anything. And I would take everything into consideration. I would give the players what they would want, but also add in like curveballs to things that they didn't even ask for. And maybe people like it, maybe they wouldn't. But, you know, the best thing is you can always take something out of a game if it doesn't quite work. So I would add a lot of things into the game. I mean, I would personally add the PvP aspect. I would add systems that you could control. I would add space stations that you could own. But remember, there's over 250 odd galaxies. This doesn't always have to be in one galaxy. So what I would do is maybe galaxies through 100 to 150 would be hostile galaxies, PvP galaxies, where if you want to partake in that kind of activity, those are your galaxies. Go and have fun. Some of them I would be completely like, you know, PvE related, so just as we are playing the game now. Some of them would just be for like purely sandbox and creative mode, and I would even go as far as to release part of the game code, not like the full-on source code, but like, for example, how GTA has done, how Minecraft has done, where players and modders could actually make their own custom versions where, you know, you could have like operating towns in the game where you could like role play on planets like properly. You know, there have been a lot of movement in that kind of directions, and I've seen it online. I watch videos about it all the time. You know, people actually reimagine how like a game civilization should be run, but actually doing it all through in-game assets. You know, people can make custom courses, that kind of thing. I mean, there is just limitless possibilities if they would release that kind of power to the people. And with the game being as old as it is, and I keep coming back to that, and we can't deny that the game is definitely getting on the older stages in its development, then maybe it is time, especially with Light No Fire just around the corner, maybe open up the doors just a little bit. I'm not saying give the full source code away or anything like that. Obviously, that would never happen in a million years, but just give the extra access so modders can come in and make the features. So then it A, takes time off the dead work, and B, it gives players more options, and that's only ever really a good thing. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted to have this very random conversation about, you know, what I feel like 2026 would look like, what it could look like in 2026. I mean, if we just stay on the path of it is just going to be Hello Games, and, you know, we are just going to get the same updates, I think the game by this time next year even, I think it will have changed again in a lot of ways. But I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as we've seen from 2016 to now. But as anything, it's incremental increases. But yeah, that's what I think. There's going to be new things added. We would have played some expeditions. Fine. But yeah, that's what I think. Anyway, I'm chatting your ear off. Let me know what you guys think for 2026 for No Man's Sky. Do you think the game is going to change in a much bigger way than anyone can foresee right now? Do you think the game's going to look completely different from what it is today? Do you think it's going to look marginally the same? Or do you think it's not going to change really much at all apart from some new bugs? Do you ever think multiplayer's going to get fixed? I want multiplayer fixed. I need multiplayer to be fixed. I love multiplayer, but it needs to be fixed. Let me know if you think it needs to be fixed. Comment section down below. But yeah, thank you all very much for watching this rant. And yeah, thank you all very much for watching. And I'll catch you all again in the next one. Bye for now.